Well, shalom, shalom. Welcome, welcome, world changers. And thank you again, Hannah, for the beautiful music. That was amazing. Beautiful as always. Thank you for blessing us with your talent. Tonight, we're going to finish up the book of Ezekiel, chapters 46, 47, and 48. Ezekiel's final vision. I pray that everything that we share here today would be a great blessing to you. Increase your knowledge of the scriptures, your knowledge of the things of heaven, your relationship with God, and your knowledge of the truth. Amen. 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 All right. Well, yeah, I am live on multiple platforms at once. Facebook, BitChute, Rumble, Kick, Twitch, and YouTube. I am going to be focusing primarily on the YouTube live chat. If you are on any of the other platforms and you put something in the live chat, I may be able to see it. Usually I see Twitch and Kick, but the other ones I don't. So you can keep watching there if you want, or go over to YouTube and look me up over there, Christopher Enoch Christopher Enoch on YouTube. It should be the first thing that pops up, and you'll see that I'm live right now, especially if you're watching live. Okay, yeah, we learned a lot, didn't we, during this book? It was like just an amazing deep dive into this book. So amazing. So, yeah, we're going to do what we usually do. We are going to compare the manuscript variations. I do have a graphic here to explain a little bit of the manuscript variations, or the manuscripts, that is, and what they mean. Let me see if I can pull this up. All right, yeah, here we are here. This is a little bit of an illustration on the manuscript variations that we're going to be touching on tonight. We have the top to the bottom in order of... the top one is the oldest, and the bottom is the youngest. So we have the Septuagint up there. It was started around the 3rd century, finished around the 1st century BC. Under that, we have the Syriac, a little bit younger, 2nd century, and finished around the 4th century AD. Under that, the Latin Vulgate, in around the turn of the 5th century, completed. And then on the bottom there, we have the Masoretic Hebrew text, and that was finalized around the 10th century AD. So, yeah, we talk about this often, and I wanted to put a little bit of an illustration up there for you guys so that you understand what is going on. Typically speaking, generally speaking, the older the text is, the more likely, not always, but more likely it is to be closer to the original. Simply being like, it's like a river or a stream. The further you go upstream, the purer and purer the water should be, and as the water flows downstream, it can pick up pollutants and all kinds of things along the way. So the older the manuscript is, the less likely it would be to suffer from transmission error. Not that the oldest one doesn't, but it's just that it's less likely because just simply because of time, right? There's not that much time compared to the youngest manuscript. Yeah, so I want to check out the live chat here before we dive into the thick of it tonight. We have, right. Clemento says shalom to all. Checkmark says shalom everyone. Gnostic Native says, oh good, I made it early enough to hear Hannah's playing. Right. Al says shalom everyone. Great blessings every day. Y'all are greeting each other. Awesome. And Al says, I'm ready for another epic, in capitals, EPIC, study tonight. Awesome. Seek the Lord says shalom. Chipmunk says, beautiful job, Hannah. Al says, beautiful job, Hannah. Felix says, hi, everyone. And Chipmunk says, how is the smoke there, Christopher? Okay, well, first of all, shalom, shalom, welcome and blessings to y'all. Blessings multiplied to you and your families. Hope you're having an awesome evening wherever you are. And thank you. I don't want to miss anybody. There's lots going on here. Thank you, Al and Chipmunk, on behalf of Hannah. Chipmunk says, how is the smoke there, Christopher? Not very good. It is actually pretty bad. Not quite as bad as it was yesterday at the peak of the smoke out that we had. It's still pretty bad. Trying to stay indoors at all costs, and yeah, it's certainly a lot of smoke outside. How is it there, Chipmunk? Katrina says, good morning, blessings to y'all. Good morning, Katrina. Blessings multiplied to you and your family. Blessings and all the great stuff of God's promises and blessings be poured upon you. Great to see you. Okay. All right, so, lots to talk about here. So, we're going to do what we always do, manuscript variations. I'm going to do it a little bit different than I did yesterday in that I'm going to put some of the illustrations on the side panels instead of pulling them up in the middle of the live stream. Okay, so we will be comparing the manuscript variations. In case you're new to the idea of these manuscript variations and what that all means and how can that happen, all that kind of stuff. So most of them is a product of transmission error, mostly. This is how it goes, right? So think for a moment with me, and we're going back in time, several hundred years, actually back in thousands of years, where we don't have a cell phone or a camera or a computer or any kind of photocopier or any printing press, none of that kind of stuff. So it all has to be copied by hand, by human beings, and almost all of them, pretty much all of these people that copied these manuscripts, we don't even know who they were. Thousands, perhaps, through the grapevine of copying and copying and copying. So picture just for a moment with me. We have the original copy, the master copy, if you will. In this case, Ezekiel. So you have the master copy written by hand. So somewheres down the line, somebody got a copy of the master. Oh, can I borrow this? I would like to make a copy of it. We want to preserve it. So the scribe would take it and make a copy. Well, scribes are human beings, and sometimes a little bit not so well. You think about what Yeshua said about the scribes. He didn't always say that they were angels. You know what I mean? So the scribes would take the first scribe would take the original master copy and he would copy it. Humans are humans; they make mistakes. You misread letters. We saw so much of this, as we're reading through the text and we're comparing the manuscripts. They mistaken the yod with the nun, or mistaken the dalet with the resh, and mistaken the numbers and all kinds of stuff. Hey, again, humans are humans. Maybe they're tired. Maybe they're little something going on in their brains, or make mistakes. So the first copy would more than likely have mistakes in it. X number of years go by. Let's say there are two more scribes that want to get a hold of that copy, because maybe by then the original is either lost or who knows what happened to the original. So they get a hold of the copy of the original. Then they copy the copy. And they make their mistakes. And scribes did change things a little bit along the way as well. For the most part, I think they were well-meaning. So they would change things. They would add a little bit here, change a little bit there. They think that, because scribes, think about this for a moment. Say, why would they change it? Are they all malicious? No, I wouldn't think they are. I think that they're well-meaning, most of them, not all of them, of course. But they're, being a scribe, they would say, I know what it's like to be a scribe. I know what it's like to make a mistake. You know, you may even, you read a word and then you think another word and you write down the word that you're thinking instead of copying the word that you're supposed to copy. You know how it is when you talk, right? It happens to all of us. We think about one thing and we say another. We think about one thing and we actually say something else because maybe we're looking at something else, or something like that. You know how it goes. So scribes know this happens all the time. And so what they would do is they would read the copy of the master. They say, oh, we know this is a copy, not the master. So we know there's probably mistakes in here. So, oh, wait a second. This verse looks a little bit off. I think that the buddy that I got it from made a mistake. Okay, so I'm going to correct it. You know what happened? A lot of times when they would correct it, it wasn't correct. It wasn't correct. They would actually make it even worse, And then the guy that got it after him would copy the mistakes that the first scribe made, plus the mistakes that the second scribe made. It was like a snowball effect. And then, copy all the changes as well, and then make his own mistakes and make his own changes to the text, and on it goes down the line. This is how we get so many manuscript variations. And just looking at what I see here for tonight, what we got lined up for tonight, there are some really amazing or concerning, however you want to look at it, manuscript variations. So that's basically how it happened. All right, just want to make sure everything's in order here. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to do something a little bit different. How should I do this? I'm going to do something a little bit different tonight. All right. Oh, this is weird. Okay. I got something that you guys would like. It's just that there's... Okay. Let me see what we have here in the live chat. Chipmunk says, I can feel it on my eyes and lungs. I stayed inside all day, but I'm outside now. Just watched the neon orange sunset. Wow. Huh. Sorry to hear about that, Chipmunk. Yeah, it's pretty bad here. I do have an air filter going and that kind of stuff, so I don't feel it that much. A little bit, but not that much. Yeah, really weird. Most of the day you don't even see the sun. It's just like an overcast day. Really, really weird that way. Thank you, Chipmunk. Gnostic Native is asking, Chipmunk, are you in Canada? But Gnostic Native says, I'm in northern Minnesota. It's real smoky here too. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, it would be. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'll do a song here. We'll play a song and then we'll come back and dive into the meat of this. Ezekiel chapter 46, 47, 48. It's really good. Goes out with a bang. I do have some interesting illustrations here to up the quality of the live stream. So we'll get that. All right. So yeah, let's do this. Right after this, we'll be back and we'll be diving into it. Enjoy the music.
You're scanning for the cosmic signs, watching news and reading lines, waiting for a distant flame, but the fire already came. In broken hearts, in open eyes, in whispered truth that never dies. Not a crown of dust and stone, but a living God enthroned. You say, when will it arrive? It's staring you right in the eyes. All the chains of sin release, the power of the God of peace. By the finger of our God, every chain is torn apart. If you see the captive free, know the kingdom's here indeed. You don't have to search the sky, it's here and now, so don't deny. Already here, already now, not someday, not somehow. In the spirit, in the flame, in the power of his name. Already here through the night, in the mercy, in the light. Not a throne of earthly sand, alive right here where you stand. Born again, the veil is torn, step inside, you're not alone. Spirit flowing in your veins, fear that shatters every chain. On that mountain glory shone, not a promise is postponed. Eyes were open, they could see his kingdom now, eternity. Not of this world, not made of dust. Holy power, holy trust, surrender now. Heart and mind, heaven through you now will find. Don't say it's coming, don't say one day. The king is here, you know the way. Already here, already now. Feel the weight of glory fall. In his presence, in his reign, every loss becomes to gain. It is here, right in your soul. Let the Spirit take control. Not a kingdom far away. It is present here today. Stop waiting for the skies to break. The king is here, your heart awake. Not someday, so do not fear. The kingdom of God is already here.
Already here, folks, already here. Okay, Matthew in the live chat says, I'm here. Shalom, everyone. Yeah, we get smoke from fires in Colorado all the time. Not fun. Well, shalom, Matthew. Welcome and blessings multiplied to you and yours. Yeah, sorry to hear about I guess you don't have smoke right now, but you might have smoke. I don't think the stuff that we are experiencing up in a little bit more of a northern part of North America is probably not what you're experiencing now, Matthew. All right. Al says, yeah, hope the air quality is better. Gnostic Native says, I just looked up a map of the fires. You guys have it worse than us over in New York. Yeah, some people have it really, really bad. Al says, yeah, it's pretty rough. I was saying there yesterday, I hardly ever heard of such a thing, up until just recent years. Looked it up, I guess it's just changing the jet stream and all kinds of other things that are different in recent years. Okay, well, anyways, let's get into this. This is Ezekiel chapter 46. I'm going to be reading primarily from the WEB translation. So I'm going to be starting, this is a translation, by the way, from the Masoretic Hebrew, the youngest of all the manuscripts that we're going to be comparing tonight. Unbeknownst to me, I remember, years ago, I thought that the Masoretic Hebrew was the quote-unquote original Hebrew. Certainly far from original. It's not that old, all things considered. Okay, so here we go. This is Ezekiel chapter 46 and verse 1. The Lord Yahweh says, the gate of the inner court that looks toward the east shall be shut the 6 working days, but on the Sabbath day it shall be opened, and on the other day of the new moon it shall be opened. The prince shall enter by way of the porch of the gate outside, and shall stand by the porch of the gate. And the priest shall prepare his burnt offering and his peace offerings, and he shall worship at the threshold of the gate. Then he shall go out, but the gate shall not be shut until the evening. The people of the land shall worship at the door of the gate before Yahweh on the Sabbaths and on the new moons. The burnt offering that the priest shall offer to Yahweh shall be on the Sabbath day 6 lambs without defect, and a ram without defect. Okay. I got a chart I'd like to show you guys. Pull this up. Okay, so here we are. On the left-hand side, we have Ezekiel chapter 46, starting at verse 4, the offerings. And this is also based on, can be cross-referenced with Numbers chapter 28 and Ezekiel chapter, well, this is Ezekiel chapter 46 itself. Numbers chapter 28, the daily sacrifices, 2 lambs, morning and evening, the Sabbath. Okay, that's on Numbers chapter 28. Ezekiel chapter 46 says 1 lamb morning only. Numbers chapter 28 says 2 lambs on the new moon. Ezekiel chapter 46 says 6 lambs plus 1 ram. Numbers chapter 28 says 2 bullocks, 1 ram, and 7 lambs. We have it illustrated there by the different graphical symbols. And Ezekiel chapter 46, this is when we get a little bit later here in verses 6 and 7, says 1 bullock, 6 lambs, and 1 ram. So you can see the difference here between the 2 chapters. Let's continue with verse 5. Verse 5 says, and the meal offering shall be an ephah for the ram, and the meal offering for the lambs as he is able to give, and a hin of oil to an ephah. Okay, manuscript variations. Ezekiel chapter 46 verse 5, where it says, we just read it, the meal offering shall be an ephah for the ram, and the meal offering for the lambs as he is able to give, and a hin of oil to an ephah. So it says, as he is able to. So look at the difference between the Masoretic text and the Septuagint. Let me see if I can just zoom out a little bit more here so you can see it a little bit. I don't know if that's easier to see or not. I know it's smaller. Let me know in the live chat if you like it bigger. If you want me to put it a bigger font, just let me know in the live chat. So, right. The Septuagint being the oldest text, the Masoretic Hebrew, which is also called the original Hebrew, which is not original, is the youngest text. The oldest text says, and a free will offering, and a meat offering for the ram. In the Masoretic text, it says, and the meal offering shall be an ephah for the ram. The Septuagint says, and a meat offering for the lambs. The Masoretic text says, and a meal offering for the lambs. The Septuagint says, the gift of his hand and a hin of oil for the meat offering. The Masoretic text, the Hebrew, says, as he is able to give, not the gift of his hand, and a hin of oil to an ephah. So that is very different. How is the font there in the live chat? Is the font a little bit too small, or should I zoom in a little bit more there? I just wanted to zoom out so you could see the comparison, hopefully a little bit easier. Let me know. Is it okay like this? Is it big enough to read? Syriac says, and he shall make a busheled basket of fine flour for the bull, and a bushel basket for the ram. And a bushel basket, and for the lambs, according to what has arrived in his hands, but a hin of oil to a bushel basket. Look at the difference. Like the Peshitta, the Syriac. If you have the old, like, you're reading a Bible and the footnote would say SYR. Well, most people don't know what that means. What that means is this text, the Syriac, older than the quote-unquote Hebrew. Gnostic Native says, I can see fine. Well, thank you, Gnostic Native. I appreciate that. All right, I'll leave it a little bit smaller then if you can see fine like that. Anybody else, if you have a hard time reading it, if it's too small, just let me know. Yeah, so what a difference. And he shall make a bushel basket of fine wheat flour for the bull, and a bushel basket for the ram, and for the lambs, according to what has arrived in his hands, but a hin of oil to a bushel basket. The Latin says, and the sacrifice of all ephi, I suppose that would be maybe the plural of ephah, maybe ephi, and the sacrifice of all ephi for a ram, but for the lambs, what sacrifice his hand shall allow, and a hin of oil for every ephi. I guess it's not plural, it's singular there. The critical significance and scribal origin. The Hebrew phrase matanat yado, the gift of his hand, is translated literally as the gift of his hand in the Septuagint, but paraphrased in the WEB and the Vulgate. The Syriac uniquely interpolates a quote bushel for the bull, unquote, here, which is absent in the Masoretic text, the Vulgate, the Septuagint, for this verse, suggesting a localized blending of liturgical guidelines. Wow, that's different, all right. Okay, verse 6. On the day of the new moon, it shall be a young bull without defect, 6 lambs and a ram. They shall be without defect. He shall prepare a meal offering, an ephah for the bull, and an ephah for the ram, and for the lambs according as he is able, and a hin of oil to an ephah. When the prince enters, here we go, the prince. We spoke about this last night quite a bit. The prince, what is the prince? The Messiah? Is this another human being? The prince of the quote-unquote third temple. When the prince enters, he shall go in by the way of the porch of the gate, and he shall go out by its way. But when the people of the land come before Yahweh in the appointed feasts, he who enters by the way of the north gate shall to worship shall go out by the way of the south gate, and he who enters by way of the south gate shall go out by the way of the north gate. He shall not return by way of the gate by which he came in, but shall go out straight before him. How many of you guys in the live chat are viewing this on a cell phone vertically and not horizontally, if you know what I mean? Let me know in the live chat. You know what I'll do? I'll put a... Let me put a poll here. How are you viewing this live stream tonight? On a cell phone vertically, or wide, like a widescreen, like a widescreen, or on a computer or TV? Yeah, the poll is up there. Nasi Native says, I'm watching on my TV, but using my phone vertically to chat. Okay, that's great. That's great. Chipmunk says, I often do vertical for the chat. Okay, so you do vertical for the chat. Do you, Chipmunk? Do you use like widescreen too, or is it always vertical? In the meantime, we have another. And I'm asking because of the way we have it set up here tonight as well. We have another illustration on the left side. And I know this will be very, very hard to read on a cell phone unless you have a widescreen, you kind of pinch zoom it, or if you have a computer, or if you have a TV, you might be able to read that. What we have on the left side here is an illustration of what we're reading here in these verses, from verses 8 through 10. Chipmunk says, I go back and forth depending on what's on the screen. Okay. Here's a question. I don't know. If you have the cell phone vertically, if you have it vertically, does it show just the center of the screen? Like, I'll put this up here. If you put it vertically, do you see just the text, like the scriptures? And if you turn it horizontally, do you see everything else? Or how does that work? Does it change like that? I'm just wondering how things work here. Yeah, we're doing our best here to make it as... we're trying to improve our quality as much as we possibly can. Please let me know in the live chat if you have a cell phone and you have it vertical. Do you see just the center part of this? Do you see just the text here? Can you see the illustration on the left-hand side if you have it vertical? And if you turn it horizontal, can you see everything? Can you see the image over here on the right and the illustration, the chart on the left? Does it change for you? Gnostic Native says, I can see it all on my phone vertically, same as my TV. Okay, so when you have it vertical, it shows the entire, all three sections. Chipmunk says, can see both either way. Okay, you too. All right, thank you. Okay, well, let's move on here. Verse 10, the prince shall go in with them when they go in. When they go out, he shall go out. Okay, so I'm going to leave the chart up on the left-hand side for you guys to use that in your own time as I'm reading. Instead of me reading every single word of it. Gnostic Native says, yes, both are the same on my phone, vertical and horizontal. I can see it all. Okay. Thank you for letting me know, Gnostic Native. Because I was under the impression that on a cell phone, you normally could only see the center part of it. That's what I was under the impression. The way that I have it set up here, the way that it looks, YouTube is showing me like a preview of what it would look like on the cell phone. And I see just like I don't see anything on this side or anything on that side. I don't see my hands if I do this in the preview. In the horizontal view, of course, I see it all. Elemento says I can see both horizontal and the vertical charts. Okay. So you can see it all when you have the phone vertically. Okay. Verse 11. In the feasts and in the appointed days, the meal offering shall be an ephah for a bull and an ephah for a ram, and for the lambs as he is able to give, and a hin of oil to an ephah. When the prince prepares a freewill offering, a burnt offering, or peace offerings as a freewill offering to Yahweh, one shall open for him the gate that looks toward the east, and he shall prepare his burnt offering and his peace offerings, as he does on the Sabbath day. Then he shall go out, and after his going out, one shall shut the gate. Verse 13. Okay, so we're going to go back to our comparison chart there. Verse 13, you shall prepare a lamb and a year-old without defect for a burnt offering to Yahweh daily. So you see it says here in the chart over here, daily is comparing Numbers 28 with Ezekiel chapter 46. Morning by morning you shall prepare it. You shall prepare a meal offering with it morning by morning, the sixth part of an ephah and the third part of a hin of oil to moisten the fine flour. A meal offering to Yahweh continually by a perpetual ordinance. Thus they shall prepare the lamb, the meal offering, and the oil morning by morning for a continual burnt offering. Elemental says yes to see it all. That's awesome. Thank you, Elementos. So we have another manuscript variation in verse 10. Verse 10, In the Masoretic text, the prince shall go in with them, and they shall go in. When they go out, he shall go out. The Septuagint says, the prince, that's right over here, the prince shall enter with them in the midst of them when they go in. And when they go forth, he shall go forth. The Syriac says, but the ruler, notice it doesn't say prince, but the ruler who is among you, by which gate he enters, he shall go out. The Vulgate, and the prince in the midst of them shall go in when they go in, and go out when they go out. The manuscript variation, the significance here is a major administrative shift. The Syriac Peshitta restricts the prince to exiting by the same gate he entered, while the Masoretic, the Septuagint, and the Vulgate depict him entering and exiting in solidary procession with the populace, emphasizing communal presence. Okay. Back to the text. Verse 16. The Lord Yahweh says, if the prince gives a gift to any of his sons, it is his inheritance. It shall belong to his sons. It is their possession by inheritance. But if he gives of his inheritance a gift of one of his a gift to one of his servants, it shall be his to the year of liberty. Then it shall return to the prince. But as for his inheritance, it shall be for his sons. Moreover, the prince shall not take the people's inheritance to thrust them out of their possession. He shall give inheritance to his sons out of his own possession, that my people not each be scattered from his possession. Then he brought me through the entry which is at the side of the gate into the holy rooms for the priests, which look toward the north. Behold, there was a place on the back part westward. He said to me, this is the place where the priests shall boil the trespass offering and the sin offering, and where they shall bake the meal offering, that they not bring them into the outer court to sanctify the people. Then he brought me out into the outer court, and caused me to pass by the four corners of the court, and behold, every corner of the court there was a court. In every corner of the court there was a court. Okay, so we got the border here. This is on the left-hand side. You see the illustration of the border of the land. Verse 21, then he brought me out into the outer court, and caused me to pass by the four corners of the court, and behold, in every corner of the court there was a court. In the four corners of the court there were courts enclosed, 40 cubits long and 30 wide. These four in the corners were the same size. There was a wall around the four, and boiling places were made under the walls all around. And he said to me, these are the boiling houses where the ministers of the house shall boil the sacrifice of the people. Okay, so this would be something like here on the right hand side, the boiling places. Boiling places. Let's go over to chapter 47. He brought me back to the door of the temple, and behold, waters flowed out from under the threshold of the temple eastward for the front of the temple faced eastward toward the east. The waters came down from underneath from the right side of the temple on the south side of the altar. Then he brought me out by the way of the gate northward, and he led me around by the way outside to the outer gate, by the way of the gate that looks toward the east. Behold, waters ran out on the right side. When the man went out eastward with the line in his hand, he measured 1,000 cubits, and he caused me to pass through the waters that were to the ankles. Again, he measured 1,000 and caused me to pass through the waters that were to the knees. Again, he measured 1,000 and caused me to pass through the waters that were to the waist. Afterward, he measured 1,000, and it was a river that I could not pass through, for the waters had risen, waters to swim in, a river that could not be walked through. Okay. So, right, we do have your screen's going to go black here in just a second. Don't worry. Just give me a second here. So something like that, we're walking through the waters. He said to me, Son of man, have you seen this? When he brought me and caused me to return to the bank of the river. Then he brought me and caused me to return to the bank of the river. Now, when I had returned, behold, on the bank of the river were very many trees on one side and the other. Then he said to me, these waters flow out toward the eastern region and will go down into the Arabah. Then they will go toward the sea and flow into the sea, which will be made to flow out, and the waters will be healed. It will happen that every living creature which swarms in every place where the rivers come will live. Then there will be a very great multitude of fish. For these waters have come, and the waters of the sea will be healed, and everything will live wherever the river wherever the river comes. It will happen that the fishermen will stand by it, from En-Gedi even to En-Eglaim. There will be a place for the spreading of nets. Their fish will be after their kinds, as the fish of the great sea, exceedingly many. But its swamps, marshes will not be healed. They will be given up to salt. By the river banks on both sides will grow every tree for food, whose leaf won't wither, neither will its fruit fail. It will produce new fruit every month, because its waters issue out of the sanctuary. Its fruit will be for food, and its leaf for healing. Okay. Verse 13, the Lord Yahweh says, this shall be the border by which you shall divide the land for inheritance according to the 12 tribes of Israel. Joseph shall have 2 portions. You shall inherit it, one as well as the other as another, for I swore to give it to your fathers. This land will fail to you for an inheritance. Right hand of God says, good evening. Michigan is covered in smoke. Looks like the end times outside. Wow. Well, good evening, the right hand of God. Good to see you. And hopefully you're not suffering too much there. All right, folks. Give me about 3 minutes, folks. Just give me about 3 minutes. I will be right back. Thank you for your patience, guys. I really appreciate that. We're on Ezekiel chapter 47, verse 15. This shall be the border of the land. There again, we have the illustration on the left-hand side over there. On the north side, from the great sea by the way of Hethlon to the entrance of Zedad, Hamath, Berotha, Sibraim. You can see these places over there on that map, which is between the border of Damascus and the border of Hamath, to Hazer Hatikon, which is by the border of Horon. The border from the sea shall be Hazar Enon at the border of Damascus, and on the northward is the border of Hamath. This is the north side. The east side between Horon, Damascus, Gilead, and the land of Israel shall be the Jordan. From the north border to the east sea you shall measure. This is the east side. The south side, southward, shall be from Tamar as far as the waters of Mariboth Kadesh to the brook and to the great sea. This is the south side, southward. And again, you can see all those things down there on that illustration, down there in the bottom of it. Verse 20, the west side shall be the great sea, from the south border as far as opposite the entrance to Hamath. This is the west side. So you shall divide this land to yourselves according to the tribes of Israel. You shall divide it by lot for an inheritance to you and to the aliens who live among you, who will father children among you. Then they shall be to you as the native born among the children of Israel. They shall have inheritance with you among the tribes of Israel. In whatever tribe the stranger lives, there you shall give him as his inheritance, says the Lord Yahweh. Then we're going to go over to Ezekiel chapter 48, verse 1. Actually, you know what? Before we get to 48, let's cover some of those manuscript variations. There were several of them there in Ezekiel chapter 47. So back up to Ezekiel chapter 47, verse 4. It says, again, he measured 1,000 and caused me to pass through the waters that were to the knees. And again, he measured 1,000 and caused me to pass through the waters that were to the waist. In the Septuagint, it says he passed through the water. It was water of a fountain. Well, that's not in the Masoretic. And again, he measured 1,000 and passed through the water, and the water was up to the thighs. And again, he measured 1,000 and he passed through the water up to the loins. So it's different here. So in the Hebrew, it's first of all up to the knees, then to the waist. In the Septuagint, it's first of all to the thighs, then to the loins. The Syriac, Aramaic manuscript family says, and he measured 1,000 cubits, and he brought me into water unto the knees, and he measured 1,000 cubits and brought me in water unto the groin. I mean, look at this. So we got knees to the waist in the Hebrew, thighs to the loins in the Septuagint, and knees to the groin in the Syriac. And also the Septuagint adds that whole entire phrase, he passed through the water, for it was water of a fountain. That's not found in the younger manuscripts either. The Vulgate says, and again he measured 1,000, and he brought me through the water up to the knees. And again he measured 1,000, and he brought me through the water up to the loins. The significance is that the translators struggled to map rare Hebrew anatomical boundaries, such as Naim, meaning loins/hips. The Septuagint uses thighs/loins. The Syriac uses knees/groin. The Vulgate uses knees/loins, slightly modifying the physical imagery of the rising miraculous torrent. And then again, we have manuscript variation, Ezekiel chapter 47, verse 8. Then he said to me, these waters flow out toward the eastern region and will go down into the Arabah. Then they will go toward the sea. The Septuagint says, then he said to me, this is the water that goes forth to Galilee. Galilee. And lies eastward, and it has gone down to Arabia, and has reached as far as to the sea. So the Masoretic says Arabah, the Septuagint says Arabia, the Hebrew says eastern region, the Septuagint says Galilee. The Syriac says, and he said to me, these waters that go to Galilee, to the east, and go down to the north. And they go down into the sea. So look how different these things are. So the Syriac adds where it says to the north, go down to the north. Or maybe it was translated instead of transliterated into Arabia or Arabah. The Vulgate says, and he said to me, these waters that issue forth toward the hillocks of sand to the east, and go down to the plains of the desert, shall go into the sea. Wow. So we got, in the Hebrew, eastern region, Septuagint, Galilee, Syriac, Galilee, Vulgate, hillocks of sand. In the Hebrew, Arabah, Septuagint, it says Arabia. In the Syriac, it says north, simply north. In the Vulgate, it says plains of the desert. So the significance is a massive geographical split. The Hebrew common noun Galilah, the district, was misvocalized by the Septuagint and Syriac as the proper name Galilee. The Hebrew Rift Valley, the Ha'arabah, was read as Arabia in the Greek, while the Vulgate translated them descriptive semantically. Wow. And then verse 13, the Lord Yahweh says, this shall be the border by which you shall divide the land for inheritance according to the 12 tribes of Israel. Joseph shall have 2 portions. Joseph. The Syriac doesn't have that thing about Joseph at all. It's not there. Okay? So it's either the Syriac, or excuse me, the Septuagint. I said Syriac. The Septuagint doesn't have that. So it's either the Septuagint is more, it is like more like the original, and that somebody down the lines added that in there in the other manuscript family, or it was omitted purposefully by the Septuagint. The Syriac says, thus says the Lord of Lords, the valleys of the border which they inherit for the land, for the 12 tribes of Israel, and for a portion of Joseph. Oh, okay. So it doesn't say 2 portions, it just says for a portion of Joseph. The Hebrew says 2 portions. The Septuagint says nothing. The Vulgate says, for Joseph has a double portion. The significance, the explicit guarantee of Joseph's double portion is absent in the Septuagint. With intellectual humility, this is either an early Septuagint scribal eye-slip omission or a subsequent Hebrew Masoretic scribal insert addition designed to harmonize with Genesis chapter 48. And that very well could be, Verse 15, we got quite a bit of variations there in chapter 47. So 47 verse 15, right here it says, "This shall be the border of the land, on the north side from the great sea by the way of Hethlon, to the entrance of Zedad." The Septuagint says, "And these are the borders of the land that lies northward, from the great sea that comes down and divides the entrance of Emaseldam? So in the Masoretic, we have entrance of Zedad. In the Septuagint, entrance of Amaseldam. Syriac. "And this is the border of the land to the north of the great sea, the road of Kethrun that enters to Sadad." Kethrun. Wow. Look at that. So the Septuagint doesn't have Hethlon in there. The Syriac has got Kethrun instead of Hethlon. The Vulgate, "And this is the border of the land toward the north side, from the great sea by the way of Hethlon, as men go to Sadada." The manuscript significance, the Greek translator misread the Hebrew word boundary between Labo Hamath, entrance of Hamath, and Zedad, fusing the geographic terms into a single, non-existent composite city name, Emaseldam. This is a clear graphic division error in the Septuagint lineage. And then we have verse 16, "Hamath, Berotha, Zibraim," and then later on it says to Hazer Hatikon, which is by the border of Hauran. Hazer Hatikon. In the Septuagint, it's Ma'ab. What is this now? Ma'ab Thera, Ebra Meleam, the habitation of Sonon, which places are above the coast of Oronitis. So it's got Sonon instead of Hazer Hatikon. It's got Oronitis instead of Horon. The Syriac, "And Kamath and Beruth and Sepharvaim," and then it goes later as Katzar, the middle of which is on the border of Quran. So different. Look at the difference, folks. Look at the difference between the manuscripts. Latin Vulgate, Amath, Berotha, Sabarim. Then later it says the house of Tikon, which is by the border of Oran. The significance, the proper names diverge completely. The Septuagint reads Soron for Hazer Hatikon, suggesting a corrupted phonetic transcription. The Vulgate translates the noun hazer, court or village, literally as house, and transliterates tikon. Wow. Matthew in the live chat says, dot if you. I didn't get any more than that, Matthew. Dot if you. Are you trying to say something there? Is there something that we missed? In verse 19, the south side southward shall be from Tamar as far as the waters of Meriboth Kadesh. Look at the difference here. In the Septuagint says, and the southern and southwestern coasts are from Taman, not Tamar, but Taman. Wow. And the city of palm trees to the water of Merimoth Kadem. Not Kadesh, but Kadem. And so I can understand that one because the mem does look like a samach. Or, excuse me. Kadesh wouldn't that be a shin instead of a samach? If it is a samach, then the mem does look like a samach. There are two Hebrew letters, samach and shem. Or sheen. Sheen and Samek. Samek looks like a mem. So I can understand how that could be conflated. The Vulgate in the south wind of Tamar and unto the waters of Meriboth Kadesh. Oh, excuse me, that's the Syriac. The Vulgate says, and the south side southward is Tamar, even to the waters of contradiction of Kadesh. The Syriac, the significance of these variations, the Vulgate translates the theological meaning of Meribah, strife, semantically as contradiction. And the Septuagint possesses a double reading, retaining both Theman, interpreting Tamar as southern or Taman, and the literal city of palm trees. Chipmunk says, so many different places named. Guess they couldn't stop and ask for directions. Yeah, that would be a hard one. Yeah, it'd be like, can you tell me where Hazar Hatikon is? And what are you talking about? Sonan? Is that what you mean? Or Katsar? Or Tikon? So many different places and so many different... It's so vast differences of names. Exactly. Thank you, Chipmunk. The south side, this is in verse 19, the WEB translation of the Masoretic Hebrew. The south side southward shall be from Tamar. Oh, excuse me, we did that. Verse 20. The west side shall be the great sea, and from the south border as far as opposite the entrance of Hamath. This is the west side. The Septuagint, this part of the Great Sea forms a border till one comes opposite the entrance of Hamath. So it doesn't say west. It doesn't say south border. The Hebrew says west. In the Septuagint, it doesn't say west. The Hebrew says south border. The Septuagint just says simply border, doesn't say south. Oh, Matthew was going to tell me about a song. Okay, thank you, Matthew. Yeah. By the way, guys, if you should double check. I know I always get behind here as well. Double check that it is live, that you're not listening to make sure that it's up. Right up to live. There's a lot of times it gets behind. I understand that. The Syriac says, and the border unto Nakak, that is in the entrance of Kamath. This is the west side. You see, look at the difference. So the Septuagint says, this is this part of the Great Sea forms a border till one comes opposite to the entrance of Hamath. The Syriac says, and the border unto Nakak, that is in the entrance of Hamath, this is the west side. The Vulgate says, and this side toward the south, toward the sea, is the Great Sea from the border straight on till you come to Hamath. This is the side of the sea. The manuscript significance. The Syriac Peshitta misinterprets the Hebrew adverb nekah, straight ahead or opposite, as a proper noun, creating a fictional border settlement named Nakak. This highlights a syntactic slip during early Aramaic translation. Okay. So now we're on Ezekiel chapter 48. I got a different chart here for you guys on the left-hand side. Okay, Ezekiel chapter 48. It says, now these are the names of the tribes from the north end beside the way of Hethlon to the entrance of Hamath, Hazar Enan at the border of Damascus, northward beside Hamath, and they shall have their sides east and west. Dan, one portion. And you can see up there on the illustration, we have Dan up there, the first one that's listed. Verse 2, by the border of Dan, from the east side to the west side, Asher, one portion. You can follow me over there, guys, in the illustration. Number 3, by the border of Asher, from the east side even to the west side, Naphtali, one portion. By the border of Naphtali, from the east side to the west side, Manasseh, one portion. By the border of Manasseh, from the east side to the west side, Ephraim, one portion. By the border of Ephraim to the east side, from the east side to the west side, Reuben, one portion. By the border of Reuben, from the east side to the west side, Judah, one portion. By the border of Judah, from the east side to the west side, shall be the offering which you shall offer, 25,000 reeds in width and in length, as one of the portions from the east side to the west side, and the sanctuary shall be in the middle of it. The offering that you shall offer to Yahweh shall be 25,000 reeds in length and 10,000 in width. For these, even the priests, shall be the holy offering. Toward the north, 25,000 in length. Toward the west, 10,000 in width. Toward the east, 10,000 in width. Toward the south, 25,000 in length. And the sanctuary of Yahweh shall be in the middle of it. It shall be for the priests who are sanctified of the sons of Zadok, who have kept my instruction, who didn't go astray when the children of Israel went astray, as the Levites went astray. It shall be to them an offering from the offering of the land, a most holy thing, by the border of the Levites, alongside the border of the priests. The Levites shall have 25,000 cubits in length and 10,000 in width. All the length shall be 25,000, and the width 10,000. They shall sell none of it, nor exchange it, nor shall the first fruits of the land be alienated, for it is holy to Yahweh. Okay, so we got a couple manuscript variations there in that first part. Ezekiel chapter 48, verse 1. It says, now these are the names of the tribes from the north and beside the way of Hethlon to the entrance of Hamath, Hazor Enan. Hazor Enan. In the Septuagint, it says, place of Elam. The Syriac says, Chetzar Enan. The Vulgate says, court of Enan. So the Septuagint vocalized the proper noun Hazar Enan as the place or court of Elam. translating Hazar as place or hall, while the Hebrew, Syriac, and Latin preserve Chetzar or Chetzar Enon, court of the spring. And then we have in verse 9, the offering that you shall offer to Yahweh shall be 25,000 reeds in length and 10,000 in width. The Septuagint, of course, and you can pretty much expect this when it comes to all these numbers. Numbers show the variations a lot clearer than just words. So in the Septuagint it says, as for the first fruits, which they shall offer to the Lord, it shall be in length 25,000, in breadth and 25,000, in length 25,000 and in breadth 25,000. But the Masoretic says 25,000 in length and 10,000 in width. Okay, so there's a contradiction. Syriac says the division that you dedicate to Lord Jehovah, the length 20 and 5,000 and the width 10,000. So the Syriac is closer to the Masoretic there. The Vulgate says breadth of 10,000 as well. The significance of this manuscript variation, a major spatial discrepancy. The Septuagint reads 25,000 reeds or cubits in width, which turns the holy oblation of the land into a perfect square. The Masoretic text, the Syriac and Vulgate maintain a rectangular zone of 25,000 by 10,000. Wow. Yeah, major differences. Okay, verse 15. The 5,000 cubits that are left in width in front of the 25,000 shall be for common use, for the city, for dwelling, and for pasture lands, and the city shall be in the middle of it. These shall be its measurements. The north side 4,500, the south side 4,500, and the east side 4,500. And the west side 4,500. The city shall have pasture lands toward the north 250, toward the south 250, toward the east 250, toward the west 250. The remainder of length alongside the holy offering shall be 10,000 eastward, 10,000 westward. It shall be alongside the holy offering. Its increase shall be for food to those who labor in the city. Those who labor in the city out of all the tribes of Israel shall cultivate it. All the offerings shall be a square of 25,000 by 25,000. You shall offer it as a holy offering with the possession of the city. The remainder shall be for the prince on the one side and on the other side of the holy offering and of the possession of the city in front of the 25,000 of the offering toward the east border, and the westward in front of the 25,000 toward the west border alongside the portions. It shall be for the prince. The holy offering and the sanctuary of the house shall be in the middle of it. Moreover, from the possession of the Levites and from the possession of the city, being in the middle of that which is the prince's, between the border of Judah and the border of Benjamin, shall be for the prince. Verse 23, as for the rest of the tribes, from the east side to the west, Benjamin, one portion. Again, you can see it on your left-hand side there. You can see the illustration of all this. Verse 24, by the border of Benjamin, from the east side to the west side, Simeon, one portion. By the border of Simeon, from the east side to the west side, Issachar, one portion. By the border of Issachar, from the east side to the west side, Zebulun, one portion. By the border of Zebulun, from the east side to the west side, Gad, one portion. By the border of Gad, at the south side southward, the border shall be even from Tamar to the waters of Meribath Kadesh, to the brook, to the great sea. This is the land which you shall divide by lot to the tribes of Israel for inheritance, and these are their several portions, says the Lord Yahweh. Okay. We're at verse 30 right now. And we have another illustration for you, the city and its gates. Now, before we go, just take a look here at this graph. You notice how the sons of the same mother are kept together. You notice this? Dan, Asher, Naphtali, Bilhah, Manasseh, Ephraim, Reuben, Judah. Well, Manasseh, Ephraim are kept together there. Rachel, of course, Reuben and Judah, Leah. For the most part, I mean, down here too, we got like Benjamin from Rachel, and Simeon and Issachar kept together from Leah. Zebulun as well from Leah. Gad is from Zilpah down here. That's an interesting little thing. Did you guys know that? The allotment of the land went by, kept grouped together according to the mothers. Okay, another illustration as we read the final portion of this chapter. You'll see it over there on the left hand side. Let me just pull it over just for those of you who are on a mobile device. You can take a look at that there, the city and its gates. Okay, and zoom into that. I know that the writing there is pretty small there. Verse 30, Ezekiel chapter 48, verse 30. These are the exits of the city. On the north side, 4,500 cubits reeds 4,500 reeds by measure. The gates of the city shall be named after the tribes of Israel. 3 gates northward, Reuben 1, the gate of Judah 1, the gate of Levi 1. Now, you know what? You know what I'm thinking of, guys? When I read this, I think about the book of Revelation in chapter 21, and we go down to, shocker here, Revelation chapter 21 describes the New Jerusalem. A lot of Christians believe that this is the final destination for the believer, the New Jerusalem, the heavenly city, so to speak. Watch this. So it says, then one of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls filled with the 7 last plagues came to me and talked with me, saying, Come, and I will show you the bride, the Lamb's wife. And he carried me away in the Spirit to a great and high mountain, and showed me the great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God, having the glory of God. Her light was like a most precious stone, like jasper stone, clear as crystal. Also, she had a great and high wall with 12 gates. Now, notice this illustration also has 12 gates, okay? The city and its gates from Ezekiel chapter 48. It says in Revelation chapter 21 verse 12, and the 12 angels at the gates, and the names written on them, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. Exactly what we have here in Ezekiel chapter 28. Okay, so it's like Revelation chapter 21 is talking about the city that is mentioned in the last chapter of Ezekiel. Watch this. Now, this is the thing. 3 gates on the east, 3 gates on the north. This is from Revelation, the New Jerusalem, the heavenly city. 3 gates on the east, 3 gates on the north, 3 gates on the south, 3 gates on the west. And guess what? You cannot get into the city through any other way except through the gates. One of the gates. So, if you are a Christian and you do not identify yourself with any of the tribes of Israel, if you think, oh, I'm a Gentile, I'm not part of Israel, I'm not part of the Jewish people, if you will. Let me ask you a question. If you believe that Revelation chapter 21 is heaven, when you get there, which gate are you going to use? If you're not part of Israel, if you're not part of one of the tribes of Israel, because you see a lot of Christians, they say, oh, but I'm a Gentile. I don't have to go by the law or the Torah. That's for the Jewish people. That's for Israel. That's not for the church. Really? Well, then you might as well throw out the entire New Testament as well. Jeremiah chapter 31 talks about how the New Testament is only for the house of Judah and the house of Israel. Only for the children, the tribes of Israel. That's it. It's not for the Gentiles. Here, the New Jerusalem, the heavenly city, is not for the Gentiles. It's for the children of Israel. One of the 12 tribes of Israel. It's the only way you can get in there. Okay? It's the only way you can get in there. So back to Ezekiel chapter 48. And the gates of the city shall be named after the tribes of Israel. 3 gates northward, the gate of Reuben, 1, the gate of Judah, 1, the gate of Levi, 1. At the east side, 4,500 reeds, and 3 gates, even the gate of Joseph, 1, the gate of Benjamin, 1, the gate of Dan, 1. On the south side, 4,500 reeds by measure, and 3 gates, the gate of Simeon, 1, the gate of Issachar, 1, the gate of Zebulun, 1. At the west side, 4,500 reeds with their 3 gates, the gate of Gad, 1, the gate of Asher, 1, the gate of Naphtali, 1. It shall be 18,000 reeds in circumference, and the name of the city from that day shall be, quote unquote, Yahweh is there. And that concludes our reading of the book of Ezekiel. Any final questions or comments here before we close out for the night? So the city and its gates. City and its gates. Amazing. All right, folks. What we're going to do this weekend, Lord willing, we'll have a special live stream talking more about this prince / Messiah in Ezekiel chapter 45, 46, 47, 48, all around there. We'll talk more about that. We'll talk about who he is. We'll talk about the divinity or humanity, either or of the, or if you can even say both, if it's possible, of this prince. How divine is he? How human is he? Did this prince ever sin? Will he ever sin? We'll talk about that a little bit later. This will be on the weekend. In the meantime, again, folks, for those of you who contributed to the project of the digitization of old videos, that is well underway. The second video will be posted, Lord willing, within 24 hours. I already have the first video already posted for you guys. The second video will be posted very shortly. Chipmunk says, it's amazing that Christians can think that Jesus was a Jew and taught Jewish customs for a reason. He said, follow him. Wouldn't that imply the laws and Jesus' traditions? Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Chipmunk. A lot of people don't see that. It's so good to fellowship with you guys. You guys that understand this and see that. I now to come to think of it, I kind of shake my head at some of the stuff that I used to believe, but I didn't believe it as much as most Christians do anyway. But I've grown a lot since those old days. All right, okay. Very good. Thank you, Chipmunk. Chipmunk says again, don't pick and choose what laws, commandments, statutes to follow. Otherwise, you won't have a gate to go through. The gate will be one where we are told, I don't know you. Wow, that's a really powerful one. Yeah, referencing Matthew chapter 7, verses 21 to 23. Amazing. One of my favorite passages. Okay, thanks again, Chipmunk. That's great. So, yeah, we'll see you, Lord willing, tomorrow evening. Same time, same place. We'll be doing what we always do, and studying and digging as deep as possible into these scriptures and into the history and cultural context of it so that we can understand more of it. And I think Chipmunk here presented a very good point that in order to understand the more of it, we need to understand what the culture is all about. How did they think? How did they interpret things? All right. Okay, folks, we'll see you tomorrow. Until then, keep on calling on him, and he will show you great and mighty things that you don't know. Jeremiah 33:3. Much love, guys. You guys are awesome world changers. Love you guys.